What's up, guys? My name is Angelo, Ace Camacho. You know me from the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show, usually co-hosting with my dude Fat Mike. He's taking a vacation day today. He's got some stuff he's taking care of. So, you get a special edition of the Sport Core podcast. I don't have a fancy video like Mike does, not yet, but this is kind of a spur-of-the-moment show. I got my buddies, Turtle and Tarbill from Turtle's Take, Friday night, 7 p.m. from the 1252 brand. They're going to join me today, and we're just going to talk some Chicago sports. We got a list of topics. How you guys doing today?
I'm good, man.
How you doing?
Good. It's cool to have you guys on with me. My first live show of the Sport Core podcast, which, was kind of a spur of the moment. Like I said, Mike was like, hey, I got some stuff to do. Do you want to cancel the show? And I was like, no, you know what? I'll take the driver's seat. We'll rock and roll. I'll get the Turtles Take out there to come on, be partners with me tonight. We got a really good show. A lot of stuff we want to hit tonight. I don't really want to hold it up. So if you guys are ready, why don't we, what's up, Tyler? Why don't we start with opening day? Baseball's back, baby.
Cubs, baby.
Baseball's back.
That's right. It's been a long winter. And now spring training's done. The Cubs are back. They looked okay during the spring training and everything,
Definitely better than we thought.
Yeah, without a doubt. But on that note, though, they have a tendency to look good in spring training and then start slow. That's my biggest fear with this Cubs team right now. Like, I know I've heard you guys talk about it. Mike and I have talked about it. The pitching, there is nobody who throws over 95 on the starting pitching rotation.
What about Alizé?
I mean, he's good, but last
Was
time I
it
think
hit like 96, 97?
Maybe. I'm looking for a guy who's like, remember Jake Arrieta back in his prime?
We got Jake. We got Cy Young Jake back.
That's why I said in his prime.
In his prime.
Where you got that, you need that one strikeout, and he's whipping that ball in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you guys feel about that bringing Jake back?
I mean, if he pitches like he's been pitching in spring training, I love it. They clearly think he's gonna be a big part of it. What they do, name him the number 2, I think, right?
Yep.
Isn't it Hendricks and then him? So, if they're gonna compete, I think the Central's wide open. I know the Cardinals look great on paper, but the Cardinals have a tendency to not live up to expectations, and we'll see what kind of Nolan Arenado they get. If they get MVP Nolan Arenado, then you might as well end the season now. The Central's over. Yeah. But if he's just average, then the Cubs got a shot.
Yeah, I like the move. I'm still a little bit upset myself that we didn't make it work with Lester, and then we turned around and found the money to sign Jake. He has looked good so far. My biggest issue would be him going out there and playing consistently in that number 2 role. And again, he's been throwing a little bit over 90 here in spring training, but can he do it down the stretch? Can he do it for a full season?
Right. Like, my thought is he's had issues. When he went to Philadelphia, he was injured quite a bit throughout his time there. I hope that, like, we as Cubs fans, we remember Jake Arrieta as the World Series, Cy Young and those no-hitters. I don't want him to come back to the Cubs and be like just a shell of what he used to be. And then the fans, because we want so much success with this Cubs team, to just like completely change our mindset around what we thought about him starting. You know what I mean? Our boy Tyler here, or Arenado will still be above average. Yeah, I mean, St. Louis, they don't really have a lot of pitching, right?
No, they got none.
Right. So in baseball, you've learned, especially later into the season, that without pitching, you're in a lot of trouble.
And he's just one guy. He can't knock anybody in if there's nobody on base.
Right. That's 100% true. He could hit 4 home runs a game, but if nobody else is scoring, then what's the point?
I mean, we saw it when the Cubs had Soler. They were hitting, he's hitting 35 home runs with 50 RBIs on the year.
Right. It's. I think the Central, like you said, is wide open. I don't see the Brewers being a real big threat.
No, the Brewers are going to go back to being the old Brewers where they didn't compete at all.
Right. They had their little run.
The Pirates, I think there's some minor league teams that are better than the Pirates at this point.
that might be true. The Pirates have really kind of taken a step back. But now, we talk some Cubs. Don't forget that there's a other team on the other side.
Oh man, I wish there was a name
the
to it
city.
so I could tell them how dumb this is.
We'll just say, hey, Facebook user, that's a bad take.
It's got to be somebody from Wisconsin.
Probably. It's
Angelo,
probably-
did you put that in there, Angelo? You got you're like KD. You got a burner account.
No, if I did, it wouldn't be to hype up any Wisconsin teams, that's for sure. But so let's shift gears to the White Sox, right? I'm not a big White Sox fan. I know you guys are both Cubs fans, but let's be honest, this White Sox team, they're coming in. There's a lot of hype, right? Is this going to be
absolutely.
a situation where the hype is going to be too much, that they're going to start buying in on their own hype and then just kind of fall to expectations?
Like the Brewers pitching staff, get out of here. The
Tyler
Brewers don't even like the Brewers pitching staff.
They got a decent closer though.
But speaking of pitching staff, I love the White Sox pitching staff, especially that bullpen.
Oh,
That
Yes.
bullpen is nasty.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm in two baseball fantasy leagues, and I grabbed Crotchet in both of them. And with Crotchet and Kopech, man, you got two guys coming to the back end of that bullpen that both throw 100 miles an hour, and then you still got Liam Hendricks waiting. I mean,
Yeah.
legitimately, if they get the lead in the sixth inning, it's over. Between Bummer, Kopech, Crotchet, and Hendricks, they should never lose a lead.
Yeah, and their bats are. I know Eloy's hurt, right, and that he'll probably be gone the rest of the season.
Did you see that play?
I did not, but Mike and I used to joke all the time about how he's going to end up getting hurt, falling into the wall or falling into a net, and it just it happened.
I didn't see it, and then I finally saw it yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't even know what he was thinking. First off, it's spring training. Why are you trying to rob a home run in spring training? Just let the ball go.
That's his problem.
Like, just go to the stands, grab a hot dog and a pop, and sit down and a beer or something, and let the ball go over the wall.
Like, I admire his hustle, right? Because
But he had no chance to get the ball anyways.
Right. Like, dude,
Get out of your own way.
Right, get out of your own way. You're one of the
Absolutely.
most valuable pieces on this White Sox team. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
you have to think about where you're putting yourself at risk for the betterment of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't seem like we've listened to you guys listen to ESPN 1000. I
Yep.
listen to ESPN 1000. We've heard Carmen on. He hosts the the 10 to noon show, Carmen and Yurko. And he's talked constantly about how he should not be playing the field.
No.
And I totally agree. Oh, but he's too young to be a DH. It's bullshit.
Who
So
cares?
we had David Schuster on with us last Friday, and
Mhm.
I asked him the same question. I said, why are the Sox so hesitant to just make him a DH? And he said it's basically Andrew Vaughn's bat is too good to not find a spot for him every day. Whether it's a little bit of first base, a little bit of DH. But now you've lost Eloy, and now you've got Andrew Vaughn in left field anyways. So if Andrew Vaughn was a viable option in left field, why didn't you put him in left field and Eloy to begin with?
So, my thought process is this. The White Sox last year had so many DHs.
Mhm.
Mike and I had talked about that. And then this year, they're almost in the same situation.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, there's going to be needs for this team going forward the further you get into the season, closer to the trade deadline. If I was them, I'd be looking at who on my team I can flip for something, that's going to help me win now.
So you're going right into what I was thinking. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. He plays for Arizona, Katel Marte. Arizona's not doing anything. They're not competing for anything. Right. San Diego just got a whole lot better. The Dodgers won the World Series, so you're not going to do anything in Arizona. Katel Marte, I think he's 28 or 29 years old now, so he's not getting any younger. The Sox got a great farm system. They got extras at a lot of positions. I would have had to go get him instead of Adam Eaton. You could have went and got him. You could have put him in the outfield. You could have then moved other guys to DH. You could have played him, and he's a true leadoff hitter. They got Tim Anderson, who's a great hitter. Don't get me wrong, but he's hitting leadoff, and he's out there hitting for power. You got Lewis Robert is hitting seventh. Yeah. So you've got all the hitters, but they don't have that true leadoff speed guy. Great, you already got Lewis Robert in the field. Now if you go get a Katel Marte, now you got two Gold Glove outfielders. Plus he can play like 7 of the 9 positions on the field.
Right.
So you give yourself more versatility. They're so if you look at the Sox team, it's like every guy one after another is the same guy.
That's such a great.
They're almost all righties.
Yep.
They all hit for power and low average. They got a few guys that hit for, decent average. But over the course of 162 games, a lot different than last year. Last year they got to beat up on the Central Division of the AL and the NL. And didn't have to play anybody else. They didn't get to the one game and they lose to Arizona. So were they really as good as they looked last year? Or was it just, we got to play really bad teams?
And I think that's what we'll see here as the season starts. What's their record going to be here in 30, 40 games when we're really starting to get into it and they're starting to get comfortable? Because in spring training, a lot of the Sox players weren't living up to that hitting expectation that they had as a club. And, Angelo touched on it a little bit. They're in this World Series or bust mindset.
Right.
Is that going to be too much moving forward? Only time will tell.
I think that's one of the positives to bringing La Russa on is hopefully he can kind of temper down those expectations during the season because, in sports, that's the end game all the time, right? To win a championship. Right. And the Sox do have the potential to do that. But, you can't believe your own hype. And everybody in the city is hyping them up. Everybody nationally is hyping up this White Sox team. It's like when the Cubs were the favorite to win it all. You know what I mean? And everybody's hyping them. And Joe Madden was there. Yeah, he made questionable calls, whatever. But he was there to kind of bring them back down to reality. I think that's what having La Russa on this team or as the coach is going to be a big positive for this younger team.
I think the Sox are half in win now mode. I think they made two huge mistakes. If you're in win now mode, if you're in win now, I get La Russa's been there before, but why if I'm replacing Ricky Renteria with somebody, why was it not AJ Hinch? AJ Hinch is one of the best managers in baseball. Right. If you want to win now, go get AJ Hinch. He knows how to work with younger players. It's not like he hasn't. Houston, everybody was young. They came up through Houston through AJ Hinch.
Yep.
I would have brought AJ Hinch. And all the money they were spending, and they were, last year they were supposedly in on Manny Machado and all this and that. Go get Trevor Bauer. I know he got a lot of money, like stupid money from the Dodgers, but go get Trevor Bauer. I know even if you want Giolito to be your, the face of your rotation, say, look, Trevor, we're going to pay you a shit ton of money, and you're going to pick second for us.
Right.
We're only going to sign you for a year, and we're going to pitch you second because Giolito's our guy, but we're going to pay you a shit ton of money.
I like this question. I was just going to ask you both this question before we move on to the next topic. Who do you guys think is going to win more games and do which team goes further at the end of the year? Do the Cubs make the playoffs? I think the White Sox will make the playoffs, no question.
I think the Sox make the playoffs without a doubt. I think the Sox win more games because they're a more complete team.
Yeah.
The Cubs, the bullpen is still, I think the three of us could pitch in their bullpen.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to lose some games like we saw last year where they could have won them. But I think the Sox they're a more complete team and they're going to win some games just because of that bullpen and because every guy in the team could put one in, across the street every time up to the plate. Yeah. So I think they're going to win some more games, but I could easily see the Sox going, really good regular season, getting to the first round of playoffs and being bounced first round.
Yeah. Just like last year.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't. I haven't seen enough from them. I know they look great on paper, and everyone gets really excited. We're all Cubs fans. We did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets really excited when your team's ready in a year or two earlier than you expected. But I just think there still is some question marks in that team, especially now without Eloy. Right. He was obviously going to be one of the most best hitters they had, the most complete hitters, and I think they're going to be missing him a lot.
Yep. Tarbo, what do you think?
I would agree with your statement on Eloy there, Vince, but honestly, as much as I want to say the Cubs just because I'm a Cubs fan, it's obviously the Sox. They're going to win more games. Playoff-wise, I'm not sure how far they go. It depends on how much this club can hit and how consistently they can hit moving forward. But just strictly on wins, it's definitely the Sox, and they at least get into the playoffs. I don't know what they do there. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think the Sox will have a better record. If they can, play consistently, I think they have a good shot of making it pretty far in the playoffs. But again, it's really going to – they have the bullpen. They have the pitching. It's going to come down to these bats and if they're going to be able to stay consistent and get hot in the playoffs,
Right.
So, all right, we talked opening day. Next topic that I thought we could talk about is the Chicago Bulls. Last time me and Mike
Okay.
were on, I don't think they had made all these moves yet. Bunch of big guys came over, right?
Yeah, I think it was last
Right.
Tuesday.
Yeah, I think they got rid of one of my favorite players, Wendell Carter Jr. I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say you're being sarcastic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted so much for him to succeed, just because of where the Bulls picked him, because he was on the Bulls, and I figured, hey, you're here, let's do something with it, right? He just
Right.
wasn't. He just was not able to handle any sort of physical big man down in the post.
No.
You know? And now the Bulls brought over Vucevic from Orlando. I love that addition. They're working the kinks out right now, but I think
Right.
as the season goes on, I think there's good potential for this team moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what my favorite thing about Wendell Carter being shipped is I think it's the end of an era. The Bulls for the last, 7 years or whatever it's been with Gar and Pax running thing, it was like anybody that played for Duke, they thought was an all-star. Oh, he played at Duke? Cool, we
Yeah.
need him. Oh, he played at Duke 15 years ago? We need him too.
Yeah.
So I think maybe, now we can start. And I love what AK's doing. He helped build Denver, and you see what Denver is every year. Now if you got a guy like Vucevic, you could pair with Zach. I know everyone's afraid that he's 30, but you know what? You could play. Look at LeBron. Nobody,
Right.
he's not. I know he's not
Right.
LeBron. So before everybody
Right.
starts commenting again,
Yeah,
"He
you knew
compared
that was
Vucevic to LeBron."
Yeah, you knew
Because-
that was going to be coming.
Right. But
Right.
he's 30. He can still play at 30. And he doesn't need to be the guy. He was the guy in Orlando because they had nobody else.
Right.
But he can
Right.
play that complementary piece to Zach. He can play the pick and roll. He can, if they go against an Embiid or somebody, he can use that extra energy on defense and have a guy like Zach that can play offense more that game where he doesn't have to play so much energy on both sides.
Right.
Agreed. I think in addition to Vooch, obviously they got Daniel Tice as well. He's been playing very consistent so far.
He's like a bulldog.
Yeah.
Just his his defensive mentality has been great. We've seen it already with some blocked shots that have amazed you, and especially against the Warriors the other night. I know we're only a couple games into this, but I'm excited to see what he does moving forward, especially with Patrick Williams there to complement him. I think the two of them pair together nicely. So it'll be interesting to see what this team does. We had a comment here in the chat that the Bulls will compete in 2 years. Just keep building around Vucevic and Levine. I think this team is a true point guard away from being at that competitive level. What do you guys think?
Well, I was literally just going to say that. I was a little disappointed that during the trading that was going on that they weren't able to get a more facilitating type of point guard.
Right.
So you're going to have to address that next season. Now, the bad thing is there isn't this great class of point guards next year as free agents. Do you kind of hope that maybe AK can do some wheeling and dealing and maybe bring somebody in? I'm not opposed to the Lonzo Ball thing.
If I had to bet money right now, I would say that Lonzo Ball is the Bulls starting point guard next year.
I would agree with you on
free
that.
agent, but I don't see the Pelicans
I'd like to
matching
see
a
it.
lot of offers on him. I know they can, but I don't see them matching him. And Tarbo and I were talking the whole day of the deadline, and somebody I know was sending me some updates from a buddy of his, and they were very, very, very aggressively trying to go get Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
So I think that I just don't see a way that they don't make that happen in the offseason. And from all the reports, it sounds like he wants to come here.
Yeah.
So
I
if you
heard
have
the Bulls
Carter-
and Knicks, right? Those are
Yeah,
the two?
Yeah, the two, they were the most. It really came down to the draft pick. They needed the first round pick to send to Orlando for Vooch, and they then didn't have it to send for Lonzo, which I'm cool with that because I don't think I would have sent the first round for him anyways.
No.
Even if you got him this year, say you got him and Vooch, you're not winning a championship this year. So why pay all that you have to pay and not possibly lose out on Vucevic when you could just go sign Lonzo in the offseason?
Right. 100%. And like my thing about this Bulls team, I really like AK. Like me and Mike have talked about this before, that the way he built Denver up and got all those pieces. It's kind of similar to how the Bulls look right now, right? The
Yeah.
Bulls need to be more physical. What did he do? He went out and got guys that were going to be physical, that were going to go and hustle and not be afraid to throw their bodies into people. And I like that. I think that's what this Bulls team has kind of been missing for the last 3-4 years, you know? So.
Oh, absolutely. And you touched on it a little bit with Wendell. They were hoping that he'd be a well-rounded player offensively and defensively, and he was just never able to live up to that expectation, unfortunately.
Right.
So,
No, absolutely. And you look at, like you said, if you look at this team versus Denver, no, Vucevic isn't Jokic. Nobody in the NBA is.
Right.
But he's damn close.
Yeah.
He may not be as elite at all those things. He may not be as big of a defender as Jokic, but he's not quite as big as Jokic.
Right.
But he shoots, he passes the ball, he defends, he rebounds. So you could see the spots if you look through the Bulls lineup, it's kind of mirroring that Denver team, and if AK keeps building this and your bench looks like, Kobe White and some of the guys that they like and they've been adding and they have them off the bench. Now you're going to have a deep bench too, which we've seen in the playoffs. Yeah, it shortens up. But when you need a few minutes here and there, Tarbo, you spoke about Patrick Williams. I think he's obviously, again, it's hard to compare to him, but I think he's a young Kawhi. He may not have the offensive game Kawhi has, but he's got a great mid-range jumper. If he gets a little more aggressive with his mid-range jumper and, he already plays elite defense, they just pair up so well. He could play the 3 if Tice is in there and plays the 4. If Tice is in there, you could start Williams at the 4 if you got Vucevic at the 5. And, you still get that defense and offense combination. But I definitely think if they get a point guard, they're going to compete next year. Not for a championship, but they'll compete next year. And then in 2 years, you keep building. You get younger. You get some – guys are going to want to come here.
Right.
They're going to see them. And AK, his presence alone, AK brings a lot of guys here. And I think the guy lost in a lot is Billy Donovan. Yeah. You look at even just from before all the trade moves, it's pretty much the same roster they had last year. Unfortunately, we had to suffer through the Jim Boylan, but Billy Donovan is as advertised.
Right.
He was kind of discarded and nobody really was serious about bringing him in. And some teams had already went out, Philadelphia had already went out and got Doc Rivers and stuff like that. But I think Billy Donovan has showed that he's really a good coach. And that's why he did what he did in Florida and he did what he did with Oklahoma City. He's a true professional coach.
Yeah. Now my thing is obviously in the NBA today, Mike hates this part of the NBA, but you need to have multiple superstars or stars on your team, right? So my hope is that Patrick Williams gets like you said, Vince, he needs to get that confidence. He needs to get a little more aggressive, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think he needs to be a little more willing to take a shot, look to get his own before he gets other people involved. He had an issue with that in college also, where he kind of deferred to the older players. And I think that's kind of where he's at now. I'm hoping year 2, he develops this, a little bit more comfortability in the team and they give him that green light to just say, hey, you're the young guy on this team. This is your team. We're building this around you, Zach and Vooch. You need to be that third piece. And I'm hoping – everybody's hyped him up. A young Kawhi, he's got big hands, he's got this, he's got that. Wouldn't that be excellent to watch this kid develop, drafted by the Bulls, develop into this all-star superstar player? You know what I mean? And that's my hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you always hear everything, so I feel like we would have heard about it by now if it happened. But I would like to think that with the Bulls having Scottie Pippen as a consultant or whatever his title is that he's getting paid for, he should be working with Patrick Williams every day.
Yeah.
That's a guy that he had to play offense and defense. Every night he guarded the best player on the floor.
Yep.
So he guarded him the whole game, and he was counted on to contribute as that number 2 on offense. You don't even need him to be a number 2 on offense. If he could just be a solid number 3 or, just when it's there, take the mid-range. He's got a very good shot. Like you said, if he's getting a little more confidence in himself and he's hitting those, now teams have to worry about that, and they can't just leave him open. You can't double Vooch down low. You can't worry about Zach. You start running the pick and roll with Zach and Vooch. Now you've got, a lot of things that can happen. You just got Patrick Williams out there. Hopefully he doesn't shoot it very often, but hopefully he can keep working on that 3-point shot and gets that. Now that's the game changer right there.
And
I as much as I'd love to keep talking Bulls, and it's nice to be able to finally talk Bulls without being like miserable talking about it.
Right.
It's like you think back to when Rose was healthy and the hope that you had, and then it just completely
Are you
crashed.
trying to make me sad again?
No. This is a happy day, but we do have a couple other topics. But before we get to that, we're definitely going to show you a commercial from John Durin, the real estate guys. Take a look. We're going to take a little break. We'll play their ad right now.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
All right, guys, we're back. Huge shout out to John Darren for their support. 1252, man, they're real good guys. Now, since we were already on the topic of basketball, I'm not a huge college basketball guy. I've talked about this with Mike plenty of times, but March Madness is in its Final Four. I think it's only fitting to talk about it. I watched a couple of the Elite Eight games. They were not very exciting. I watched the Gonzaga game. That was a complete blowout. What have you guys thought about the tournament so far?
I think there's been a lot of upsets. There was a lot of teams that you didn't really know how this year was going to go with, coming back from COVID and, Duke stopped playing. And I think that was just because they were getting their ass kicked every game. But, Duke stopped playing because of COVID and a couple other teams. And I think it was Oregon or somebody they had early in the first round or second round. They had to withdraw from the tournament because they had a COVID outbreak. And, it's been very up and down. A lot of teams you thought would be really good haven't. Gonzaga's been what they've been all year. They're 30-0. They're the first team, I think, or the fourth team, I think, in the last 30 or 40 years. They were talking about it today on ESPN 1000 that have made it to the Final Four undefeated. If they, they're trying to go undefeated and win the championship like Indiana did before. Other than that, it's some teams have looked like they have, and some have just looked like crap.
Yeah, and I've been really disappointed with how the Big Ten teams performed in this tournament. I mean, you look at Illinois being a number 1 seed and going out against Loyola. Granted, Loyola definitely played a tough game that week, but then to see them lose in the fashion that they did the game after, it's been a really interesting tournament as far as I believe the Big Ten had 12 teams in, and not very many. The last was Michigan to go out, but
I love watching Michigan lose.
It's just one of those things where you wonder if COVID wasn't involved, if all teams were at full strength, would things be different? Of course, sure they would be, but I think Gonzaga is going to win it all, and it's kind of what a lot of people expected here from the start of the tournament.
Come on, Harbaugh, you're breaking my heart. I told you I have Houston.
Well, I was just gonna.
You're supposed to be pulling Houston for me.
I was just gonna hit on that, Tarbill, where a lot of people were so upset last year when this tournament didn't go down. Right, it was huge. Obviously, COVID wrecked everything. I think a lot of people right now are just happy to have March Madness back. They were happy to be able to put their brackets together. Yeah, sure. You didn't see a lot of the main powerhouses that you normally seen at the start of the tournament. I think earlier on, the games were a little bit more. I was more into it early on because it was more of a who can win, a crapshoot type of thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I agree with you. I think Gonzaga is going to win it all. they just looked real dominant when they in the last game, and they played UCS, right? USC.
USC.
Sorry, that's my dyslexia coming into play. But yeah, they just looked dominant. You know what I mean? They had their way with that team.
Yeah, I think Gonzaga has looked really good. Baylor's looked good. A lot of teams have looked good. I think for everybody who doesn't have a horse in a race, as they like to say, or a dog in a fight, whatever you want to call it, I think UCLA is the team to root for. They have so much history for all the championships they've won and players who've come through there, Kareem and teams like that. They're an 11 seed this year. It was a team that nobody, despite as great as they've been, nobody really thought about them this year. Now that they're there, what is it? A 1, a 2, a 1, a 1, a 2, and an 11, I think.
Yeah.
UCLA
is an 11.
Yeah, so they're an 11. So I think that's somebody that everybody can root for.
Yep.
I think a lot of it this year, I think, the other thing that people aren't really talking about, these are young kids. The NBA did it with the bubble. The NBA did the bubble. Those are grown-ass men.
Yep.
Right.
We gave all the props to them when they were doing it. Yep.
They did. These are kids. These are 18 and, especially with the one and dones, most of them are 17, 18 years old, maybe 19, if you're lucky. But you got, especially these 4 teams, they don't have a lot of seniors on these teams.
Right.
They're all where guys go and play 1 year and leave. So you're talking about 18-year-olds. They've been in a bubble. I don't think a lot of them knew how to adjust. And let's be honest, some of them were probably partying. Right. They were like, man, we're at the tournament. We're in a bubble.
I was just going to say, me at 18, if they would have been like, hey, you're in a bubble, I'm not going to listen to you. Sorry.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Oh, it's lights out at whatever. Okay, bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lights out. Okay, let's open the booze.
Parties in my room. Come on over.
Exactly. So I think that had a lot to do with it this year. Was some of the teams they were at the bubble to party, and others were there to win a tournament.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely think that has something to do with it. You're right. At 18, we would have probably been partying if we were locked in that bubble as well.
At 18, I'd have been kicked out the bubble.
Our guy Alan here in the chat saying Baylor and Gonzaga is going to be a great game. Absolutely, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I've been excited for this one. I actually had this one on my bracket, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think Alan misspoke. I think he meant to say Gonzaga and Houston is going to be a great game because Houston's won it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Honestly, I want to.
People at this point have the championship game on their bracket still open.
That's true.
I got Houston and Gonzaga. I'm in good shape right now.
That is true. I'm wondering what the odds are for UCLA to win the whole thing.
And somebody took them at the beginning of the tournament or the beginning of the year. They took UCLA just because it's UCLA. Somebody was like, oh, you know what? Let me put down some stupid amount of money on UCLA just because I can afford to lose it. Now they're going to possibly cash out on it.
Yep. Right now they are a plus 14 going in to the game against Gonzaga right now. I just looked on FanDuel Sportsbook.
I might have to. That sounds like some good action right now.
Yeah, it's
plus 3,000.
Yeah,
come on.
I'm sorry. The spread was plus 14. I'm sorry.
But UCLA right now
they're plus 700.
Is that Tyler? Is that to win it all? Plus 3,000.
If you bet $100 on UCLA to beat Gonzaga, you turn that into $700. That's a pretty. I might take a flyer on $100.
Come on, plus 3,000 to win the tourney. Let's go.
Damn, dude. Hey,
let's break.
I think everybody at the 1252, we all throw $100 on it. And,
I'm hopping on FanDuel.
Yeah, all of us, hop on that same train, and maybe we can all come up a little bit.
FanDuel, if you're watching this, 1252 loves you.
That's right. That's where I get all my bets. That's where I do all my bets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but the tournament's fun. I told you guys I'm not a big college sports guy.
Did you watch the Michigan game?
Did I watch a Michigan game?
Yeah.
No.
The Michigan UCLA. That was a good game.
I did. It was a good game.
See, those are the games I feel like people who, both you said you're not really into the tournament. Mm-hmm. I think guys who aren't really in the tournament like the games like that, the 3-point games, the 5-point games. There were so many upsets at the beginning that you got teams that didn't belong there at the end, and they just got smashed by some of the really good teams.
So a lot of my life I've worked weekends, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday used to be how the NCAA tournament played out. And most of the games, started early in the day when I would be at work. So I never really was able to, sit down and, oh, Tyler, stop giving me betting odds, man. You're about to make me drive down to the city tonight. But yeah, I've watched more college since I've started the podcast, obviously. And Mike loves college football, so like I got to make sure I'm watching a little bit to be able to keep up on it. I still think the Bears are going to take a quarterback. We'll touch on the draft a little bit later. I don't want to piss Mike off too bad if he's watching. But speaking of NFL, why don't we transition? We got some big news that just came out about the 17 game season. They cut one preseason game, so there's only 3. Added that 17th game. Let's start with you, Tarbill. What do you think, about this 17-game schedule?
I'm a fan of more football. I'll say that to start. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think the concept is good. Give the fans one more game. Although it's not really an even trade, I would say, just because 95% of your guys that are playing in that 4th preseason game won't be playing in the end of the season, and vice versa. Your starters that are going to be out there week 17 wouldn't have been playing in the 4th preseason game. They would have been on the bench resting.
Right.
So in that regard, I don't think it's a fair trade. I like the idea just for the simple fan in me that it's more football. It's, I'm a diehard football fan, college, all leagues. I mean, and the NFL is the best there is. So why not throw another game into that mix for the fans? I like it from a fan perspective.
How about you, Turtle?
I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I think everybody knows the NFL is all about money. So first off, the first problem with the NFL is the way the season constructed. You had 4 preseason games, 16 regular season. Now, I'm not a season ticket holder, but I know people who are, and we talk about the ticket prices and that. How in the hell does the NFL get away with charging the same for a preseason game as they do for the NFL, or for the regular season, I mean? Yeah. If I'm going to see guys that are going to be bagging groceries next week, why the hell am I going to spend $300 a ticket? If I'm spending $300, I want to see the guys. Let me see the guys that I'm paying to see.
Yep,
so now they say, okay, we'll take away a preseason game and we'll add another regular season game. They're not fooling anybody. Nobody goes to preseason games.
Nope.
Nobody. They draw. No. It might as well have been a pandemic for preseason all along because they didn't draw people anyways.
Yep.
So they take away a game where they don't make any money, where the only money they get is for season ticket holders. To now they had another regular season game, a 9th home game. Now the owners are making a whole nother game's worth of money on a sellout. Yep. You go from, 20, let's just say 25% capacity for a preseason game to 100% sellout for the home game. And now they've been battling this 20%, 25%, how many fans you have. Just coincidentally, Roger Goodell has now come out this week and said that he expects the NFL to have full stadiums. Well, they just got back to full stadiums the same year that they now get a 9th home game. Come on. It's just a money grab. Yeah. They don't care if you see, David Montgomery out there or Angelo running the football. They don't care.
Nope.
Either way, they know you're going to sell out the game.
Yep.
People are going to watch at home. People are going to play fantasy. People are going to bet money. People are going to do all the things they do and spend all the concessions that they were already going to spend for a whole nother game now. And they could care less if you see the players that you were supposed to see or not.
Especially this year, right? Because everybody is going to be so hyped to get into the stadium.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if your team is shit, if your team is good. If you have the opportunity after what we just went through to go and see a game live in stadium, I love watching the games at home.
Yeah.
The experience on, you get a lot of camera angles, all this stuff. It's great. But there is really nothing that can compare to being in the stands. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys have all been to football games and everything.
Yeah.
I try to make it a tradition with my dad to take him to a Bears game. But I'm not really into this 17-game schedule. Personally, to me, if you were going to do that, you should have just made it 18, cut down to 2 preseason games, made it even, because I think that silly, odd game like, what's the point, right? Why throw on just a game like the Bears, right? They play Oakland, the 17th game. What's the
Vegas.
point? Vegas. Sorry, you're right, Vegas. But yeah, that Mike should take all of us to a game. But
Coming out of
but that's the thing, man. And then you read the reports. The Bears were the only team to not be on board with this 17 game season. I have my thoughts about it personally. I think the Bears liked being able to have an 8-8 record, so that they could be like, hey, well, we didn't have a losing record. We just had an 8-8 record. Now, if they have a losing record, well, they can't. It's, hey, you lost. Then they have to get rid of people like Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. But I think it's just silly. Like Vince said, a money grab for sure. You would. I don't know. I didn't know if they talked about if they were going to expand the roster with the 17th game, but I feel like you would have to, right? Too many guys, they're going to run the risk of getting hurt.
Well, and everything they talk about for the last, 10 years, but especially the last 5, has been safety first, safety first, safety first.
Right.
How is this about safety? How is Thursday night games about safety?
Right.
It's all, unfortunately for the NFL, I think they would have much rather those numbers be private and us, the public, not find out the numbers. But you see, what did Amazon pay for Thursday night games?
Right.
Some stupid amount of money.
Nuts. Yep.
So they paid that for Thursday night games. Your players have told you, we hate Thursday night games. Fans have told you, we don't watch Thursday night games. We're at work. We're doing different things. Plus, you see Thursday night games, they're the easiest way for a team to lose a game that was supposed to win. You're a really good team, and your quarterback or somebody gets a little dinged up. Everybody gets dinged up every game. Well, now you play the game Sunday, especially when they play a team that plays Sunday night. Now it plays Thursday. So now you're not practicing Monday. Monday's a day off. You just played on Sunday. Monday's a day off. You come in Tuesday. You have film and a little walkthrough. You have a heavy practice Wednesday or Tuesday. Wednesday, you can't go heavy because you play on Thursday. So what do? You really get one day of practice? They don't care about safety. They just want money. It's completely about money. They would do so many things differently if it was about safety. They claim that these penalties that they call now are about safety. It's all about offense because that's what people want to see. Nobody wants to see the old school. I shouldn't say nobody. The people spending all the money, they don't want to see the 10-7 games, the 7-3 games. They want the 35-28 games, the 35-32 games. They want to see all of it. Thursday night football is the opposite of safety. Yeah. A 17th game is the opposite of safety. You see guys like Alvin Kamara and these guys who are big names in the league, the faces of the NFL, have already come out against it. They don't like it. They don't want it. They don't want any part of it. So as a league and a governed body, all you do is go against the players who put their bodies on the line every week and say, well, we heard what you said, but we're going to add another game for you to put your bodies on the line.
Like, I agree with you, Tarbill. Like, I love football, right? The Bears are my number one team of all my Chicago sports teams, right? So getting to watch, if they were good enough to watch, to get to watch them an extra game, yeah, that's cool. But what is this going to do for teams like, the Packers, right? As much as I hate the Packers, they're always in front in the division, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say, there's 3 games left in the season. They've already locked up the first place of the division. They don't really have to do anything. Like, why would you keep trotting Aaron Rodgers out there for 3 extra games? You know what I mean? Like, obviously you want to keep him fresh, but at that point you're giving an extra game for an extra chance for him to get hurt, that kind of stuff. I think coaches are going to actually use that as like a strategy to play with, hey, we're going to rest this guy a little bit this game, or pull him this game, not play him this game. That's why I think if they would have went to 18 games, you might have been able to look into yeah, me too. You might have been able to look into maybe like a double bye, 2 bye weeks, something like that, where you play on a Thursday, or like you play on a Sunday, you get a bye week, you play, or you know what I'm saying? Like a Thursday, you get a bye week, something like that, where they could have had 2 byes, which maybe would have compensated for those extra games. You know what I mean? But,
yeah, I like it. I like the double bye. It's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, because you preach safety, right? Mm-hmm. That's a way to give players 2 weeks to just recoup their body, calm down, get themselves refocused. You give each team one in the beginning, one towards the end, and I don't know. I think it's funny that the Bears were the only team that didn't want this to happen.
That's just smoke and mirrors.
I think so. I think it's them trying to be like, well, hey, look at us. We love players and we support the players. We think it's stupid. I personally think that they just wanted to be the oddball. They wanted to be Mr. Hey, we're player friendly.
Well, and they
100%. They wanted
it was
to
going
be
to pass anyways.
Right.
They wanted to be that team that could say, "Hey, come play for us because we care about the players more than anyone else."
They're always the fucking against the grain guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They never do what most people think and
Right.
common sense would tell you to do.
It's because of all the collaboration they have.
We
Right.
have a comment here saying McCaskey is terrible. Well, I think we learned that when we didn't make any moves this offseason as far as personnel are concerned from the top down. But
the fact that they came out after before this season and said that they wanted to see some progression, right? And you ended with the exact same record. Technically, you ended with a worse record because you went 8-9 because you lost in the playoffs, right?
Right.
So you didn't do better. You did worse. And you keep the same guys, and you justify it by saying, did we get the quarterback situation all the way right? No. Did we win enough games? No. But everything else is there. What the fuck is everything else?
Right.
the collaboration is there. That's the most important thing.
Because they can have good conversations over coffee. That to me, that's so ridiculous. The idea that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are their football guys is a joke to me. But
Agreed.
We're on the topic of Bears. I want to run the promo for Nick and Ivy Brewing. When we come back, we'll have a special guest join us, and then we will talk some NFL draft. Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show, as well as the 1252 brand, because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend, or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for a fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois. All right, we are back. Man, let me tell you, I was bummed that I couldn't stay down for when we did the live show on St. Patrick's Day. I was bummed that I couldn't stay overnight because, Nick and Ivy, Mike loves it. Fred Hubner from ESPN 1000, now he's doing a show on the 1252 brand. He loves it also. I'm planning on being down there for the next live show that we do. And I believe it's going to be at the Nick and Ivy Brewery, right? That's what we've discussed.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God!
Who is this?
Oh, look at me! I'm a guest. Holy
Mike.
shit!
Hey,
I'm
Mike.
a guest.
I'd like to welcome my first actual guest onto the Sport Core podcast. It's my heterosexual life mate, as Mike always says, Fat Mike. From Fat Mike Chicago Sports, baby. How you doing?
What's going on, bro? You guys are killing it tonight. Good job. Good job.
Well, thanks, man. Just trying to do you proud, do the 1252 proud.
You guys are absolutely killing it, man. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. I love it.
So, I don't know if you were able to catch, we were talking about the 17-game schedule. I don't really care about what your opinion is on that. I'm just kidding.
Bears. I hope the Bears go 0-17.
Yeah, I knew that would be. I knew that would be your take. But we're gonna. We were just about to jump into the draft, right? Because what better way to piss us off than to talk about all the holes on the Chicago Bears team that need to be filled with a guy who just likes to throw draft capital around in Ryan Pace. So the Bears have the number 20 pick, right?
Yep.
And Mike, you and I, we've had this discussion many times on where we want the Bears to go and where we think the Bears are going to go.
Yeah.
Why don't we hear where you want the Bears to go?
Well, let's have because it's going to take me a minute. All right, it's going to take me a minute. All right, let's have Andrew and let's have Vince talk about it first.
All right,
because I'm just going to get angry at this point, and I'm already angry. I was asked a question, and I'm already angry.
We talked about that earlier in the show about how, like, before in the pre-show, where we wanted to talk about the 17-game schedule and the draft.
And you wanted to wait for me to come on to pitch and mow?
Well, I didn't know you were going to jump on with us, but we wanted to wait till it was towards the end of the show so that when I got pissed off, we could just end the show soon after that.
Just hit the fucking end button real quick. End broadcast. I'm pissed off. This shit sucks.
I feel like that's all we ever do when we talk about the Bears recently is just be pissed off, right?
What is one of my favorite sayings is I don't want to talk about it. It's only going to make me upset.
Yep, pretty much. But all right, Tarbill, let's start with you, man. The Bears, like I said, they picked 20th. Where do you think they're going to go?
I think they're going to go quarterback somehow. Do I think that's what they should do? Absolutely not. I think they should go offensive line. That would be the smart play.
Golf clap.
But in all reality, and I've touched on it many times, I think Ryan Pace is just too dumb to get out of his own way and do the right thing.
Yep.
I have a feeling he's going to go out there. He's going to trade up however many spots, give away future draft capital to try to save his ass, and he's going to be out there moving up to draft a guy like Mac Jones, who I'm not 100% sure is the answer. So as a frustrated Bears fan, I would say I think we're going to end up trading up to go quarterback, but the smart play would be for Pace to get out of his own way and go offensive line.
All right. We'll discuss everybody's take once we get it. I know where Mike is. Turtle, what do you think?
So here's the thing. I think the best thing that happened to the Bears was that San Francisco decided to trade up to 3 because, A, they set the market for what you're going to have to pay to move up.
Yep.
And I don't see the Bears doing that to move up. And 2, there's not going to be any quarterbacks left by the time they get to 20. So we don't have to worry about that. They're going to have to go tackle. Because in a perfect world, unless all of a sudden they find all this money and they go sign Mitchell Schwartz and he plays tackle, maybe you could go receiver in the first round, trying to channel my inner Ryan Pace. I would rather them go tackle because I'm tired of seeing Charles Leno, and I'd rather them draft somebody and tell Charles Leno to take a hike. Whether that's Darisaw or whether it's Jalen Mayfield or whoever that tackle is, it's still there. In a perfect world, Rashawn Slater slips because he didn't play last year, and they makes it to 20 and the Bears can get him, but I don't think he does. I think it's going to be either Darisaw from, I believe it's Virginia Tech, or Jalen Mayfield from Michigan. I think it's going to be one of those guys, or possibly Vajera Tucker from USC. I think it's going to be one of those 3 guys that the Bears wind up with, and I would love to see one of them. I think there's a lot of receivers in this draft. You can get them in the second and third round. A receiver that you would normally take in a first round, guys like Tylan Wallace and Stevenson, guys you could get them later that you would normally take higher because there's so many of them. But I don't think there's any quarterbacks left. I think quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th quarterback doesn't get past Carolina. The only way the Bears get a quarterback is if Justin Fields falls to the Bears. That's the only way, because it's going to go Trevor Lawrence. It's going to go Wilson. San Francisco is going to take Mac Jones. They've already been to 2 of his pro days. They chose to go to his pro day over Justin Fields. That tells you everything that they could say. We're going to have a private workout. Everybody has a private workout.
Right.
They work out everybody. It's just what you do. You have all the time in the world. So that doesn't.
Unless you're the Bears.
That's right.
Unless you're the Bears.
That's
then
right.
You don't work every day.
I think it's a tackle. I think the only way to get a quarterback is if Fields falls past Carolina, because I think Carolina, if both of them are there, they're taking Trey Lance over Justin Fields.
All right, so I have the order for the draft, right? I'm going to name off the teams before the Bears, and I want to know quarterback or not, right? I don't want to know who you think they're going to take. I just want to know if you think they're going to take a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Jacksonville. I think we can all agree quarterback. The Jets.
Quarterback.
All agree quarterback. San Francisco.
Quarterback.
Atlanta.
Quarterback.
Cincinnati. I don't think they need one. They got Joe Burrow.
Offensive tackle.
Right.
Yeah. Offensive tackle or Jamar Chase?
No, Miami.
No.
Wide receiver.
Right.
Yeah,
I think they're going to get a wide receiver also. Detroit.
No.
You don't think so?
Wide receiver.
They're going to go wide receiver.
Carolina.
Quarterback.
Defensive
end. That wouldn't be a bad addition either, but I think they'll go quarterback. Denver, no.
I can see Denver taking a quarterback. They don't like Drew Lock.
That's true.
So I got kind of passed over on this whole quarterback and off what the Bears are going to do here. All right.
Let's hear it.
All right. I just want to say, Vince, you're not too far off, man. You're not far off at all. All right. Do I think that they're going to go offensive line? It's what the fuck they should do.
Yep.
All right. I mean, I've been saying this for months upon months. We're going on fucking 18 months now that I've been saying that the Bears should take an offensive tackle, offensive lineman. There's a bunch of good candidates out there this year. Jalen Mayfield, Elijah Vera Tucker. He's a guard that can play tackle, that can play center. You got guys out there like Samuel Cosme out of Texas, who's a big left tackle out there. Absolute stud. This is the best O-line draft that I've seen ever.
Yeah.
This is the best O-line draft that I've seen ever. And somehow, some way that I feel that the Bears are going to fuck this up.
I was just going to say the same thing.
All right. Like I really do. I feel like the Bears are going to fuck this up. All right. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be quarterbacks. Okay. Cool. That's fine. I don't want to see Mac Jones in a Bear uniform. I don't want to see, fucking especially Zach Wilson in a Bear uniform. I think that dude's a turd sandwich. All right. I don't want to. Trevor Lawrence, I would love to see him in a Bear uniform, but it's not going to happen. All right. The guy that I want to see in a Bear uniform is somebody that can protect a quarterback. That's what I want to see.
Yep.
I want to see somebody on the blind side, the back side of a quarterback that can protect somebody. Somebody like Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame. Somebody like these big name dudes. That's what I want to see. Kellen Mond is a guy that you can scrape out later in the draft. Zach Wilson's a fucking turd. I don't care what Alan Bratcher says. That dude hasn't played a fucking defense at all. Period. Was
Alan a Mitch fan? Did Alan like Mitch? Because
I don't know.
That seems like the same argument people said against.
I don't think he did. All right. But Zach Wilson hasn't played a fucking defense at all. Period.
Bears fans just want him because he went to BYU and they think of Jim McMahon.
Exactly.
Right. And he wore a headband.
He wears a fucking headband.
Yo, I wear a headband too. They don't want me to be the quarterback. What the hell?
I want you to be the Bears quarterback.
That's right. Angelo Macho Camacho. Yeah, that's right. Super Bowl Shuffle 2.0, baby.
The best thing for this Bears team, honestly, the best thing for this Bears team is to suck and just build. That's it. We all know the state that we're in. Think about it, guys. Vince, Tarbell, Angelo, think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This team fucking sucks. Plain and simple. Yep. This team is dog shit.
And people make excuses for the
There's
team.
only one thing that you can do to get yourself back on straight, and that's to suck. All right? So, the old adage of try not to suck with Joe Madden and the Cubs, with the Bears, it should be try to suck.
So,
Mike, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
So now, ignore what the Bears will do or what you think they will do. The Bears have fired Ryan Pace and they hired Fat Mike as a GM.
Yeah.
We come to the draft. I'm agreeing with you. Definitely, they need a tackle.
Yep.
What do you think of signing a guy like Mitchell Schwartz? Using the money that you were going to put aside for Russell Wilson or whoever it was going to be for, signing Mitchell Schwartz to play tackle, right tackle, whatever that means, and instead of going tackle at one, going inside linebacker, if one of the top interior linebackers falls, because they run a 3-4. You have 2 starting interior linebackers. Danny Trevathan is not the guy he used to be. He's lost a lot of steps. He's only hanging on because his contract isn't that bad. What do you think about going and getting, one of the top interior linebackers, whether that be Collins or somebody that falls to them, and going that route if you're able to sign a big-time free agent tackle?
Right. No, I get it. If you can go out and get Mitchell Schwartz at right tackle, yeah, that's phenomenal. All right, I like that because, see, that's his natural position as right tackle. But you still need somebody to protect the blind side of our whatever quarterback that you have. And we know, everybody here on this panel knows, and Drew, me, Angelo, we all know, Vince, you too. We all know that it starts up front. You got to be able to put up points in this time, in this game nowadays.
If you're trying to suck this year, then you go get the interior linebacker. You let Charles Leno play one more year, and then you go get that left tackle next year.
Because honestly, I don't give a shit if Andy Dalton
build this thing now.
Not, to be
you got to start now. You got to start now, especially here in Chicago. It's been 35 years since we've won a championship, Vince. All right, we got to start putting effort towards winning a championship.
What if you can go with another Roquan Smith, and now you've got 2 Roquan Smiths in the middle? That sets you up just as good.
So
no, it don't. It don't. It don't. Hold on a second, Angela. It doesn't. It doesn't set you up just as much, Angela. I know you're frustrated. I'm sorry. All right, it doesn't. Okay, yeah. Congratulations, you got 2 Roquan Smiths. Is Roquan Smith putting up fucking tutties?
No. Neither is the left tackle.
Right, but he's keeping the guy up that's supposed to. But
if you're going to go get a tackle next year because you're not competing this year anyway,
right?
Why pass on
this? Is the best. Like I'm going to allude to what I said earlier. This is the best offensive line draft I've seen in years. So, why would you fuck that up this year?
Because you can get one in the second round. There's going to be tackles that are taking the second round.
Why not grab 2 of them back to back?
So here's my thought, right? Because I didn't get to tell you what I think the Bears are going to do. So let's say I'm Ryan Pace. This isn't what I would do.
Turn this motherfucker down.
This is what I think they're going to do. I think they realized when they drafted Mitch, they came out and said, hey, he's going to sit for a year, right? That obviously didn't happen. I think that they can't just sit. They're going to be like, Matt Nagy's going to come in and say, hey, this is the guy that I want to be the quarterback. We need to do whatever we can do to get to this spot, to get this quarterback. We will deal with every other spot later on. That's what I truly think the Bears will do. I don't even rule out the possibility of a Russell Wilson deal being made.
That's what I think happens.
I think there has been reports out there that think that the Bears only signed Andy Dalton with the thought of giving Seattle 4 first-round picks and Andy Dalton to get Russell Wilson. And I know that people are going to be like, oh, that's too much to give up. Here's the thing. Ryan Pace,
I'd give up my fucking kidney to have Russell Wilson.
Look at the last 4 draft picks at number 1 that Ryan Pace has had, right? They're fucking awful. Well, okay, Roquan's good, right? We'll say that he's 1 of the 4. Mm-hmm. Mitch was a bust. Kevin White, well, I wouldn't say Mitch was a bust, but Kevin White was terrible.
Mitch was a bust. I'll say it for you.
But Kevin White was
Mitch
bad,
was a
right?
definite fucking bust.
Leonard Floyd was a bust. I don't give a shit.
Floyd, right. That's what I mean. Like, you're going to argue about too much to give up in the early rounds of the draft. We've seen that Pace does well later in the draft, right? So I would rather get Russell Wilson first round for the next 4 years and deal with filling in holes at the O-line. Like Mike said, this is a deep draft, right, for O-linemen. I think you could probably find a top O-lineman. This is just what I think Pace is going to do. Going to go after Russ. If he can get Russ, he'll get him. And
he's going to draft a cornerback.
He probably fucking would. Out of
typical Ryan Pace fashion.
Rhode Island State Technical College or some shit.
Rhode Island State Sisters of the Poor Christian College.
Yeah.
You know what, though? He hits better on the small school guys than he does the big school guys.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Ryan Pace is a clown. I still, to this day, I don't understand how in that press conference they came out and said that Ryan Pace is their football guy. So here's why I don't think Mitch was a complete bust, right? Because he won games.
Oh, please.
Don't do it,
Please.
Angelo.
I want to hear this, Angelo. This isn't my show. This is a Sport Court show. So please, Angelo, please tell me why Mitch wasn't a complete bust. I'm waiting.
So I do not like Mitch Trubisky. Mike, you and I have talked about this quite a bit. But Mike, Jesus, Mike, your chair. Mitch did take us to the playoffs.
That was a fart.
Well, good, because that's kind of what Mitch Trubisky's time in Chicago was, right? Like a fart in the wind. I'm not going to defend Mitch Trubisky. I'm here to talk about the draft. I think.
No. Go on, please.
Right.
Please tell me why you don't think Mitch Trubisky wasn't a complete bust.
I don't think he was a complete bust. I just don't think he was
100% bust.
I mean, he was.
Hold on, Vince, shut the face.
He's not like Jamarcus Russell. I mean, that's a bust. Kevin White, who played 2 games for the Bears, that's a bust. That's what I think a bust is. Greg Oden is a bust, right? Those are busts. Guys who...
Greg Oden's 95 years old.
That's what I'm saying. But
his knees are 110.
Now, if it was me, if Angela was the GM of the Bears, I would do whatever I could to get a good tackle with that 20th pick, then look to trade back at your second pick, get a little bit more in the 3rd, 4th round, and then get another O-line, then look at getting Kellen Mond if he's still there.
So you're finally on my page now.
Well,
after 4 months of you and I arguing about this.
It was never.
You're finally on my page.
It was never what I thought was going to happen. It wasn't what I wanted to happen. It was what I thought Ryan Pace would do.
So you're finally okay. So what you're saying is that you're finally agreeing with me. Is that this Bears O-line is fucking hot dog shit?
Who brought this guy on the show? What the fuck? I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, everybody knows. Everybody knows that the Bears O-line is trash, right?
Right.
So obviously that's an area of need that you need to address. Like Mike said, I don't think that this is going to be a 1-year thing for Pace and Nagy right now.
Right.
I think they brought on, unless they get Russell Wilson, I think the thought. Yeah, my boy Jeremy also didn't like Jay Cutler, and I'm a huge Cutler fan. But
listen, Cuddy was the man, dude.
He was.
Definitely.
But here's what I was going to say.
Well, don't forget that we had Kellen Davis on last week, who was about as dry as a fucking desert fart. All right.
It was a little rough to pull some kind of personality out of there.
I'm not pulling any punches. That guy was about as dry as a fucking decrepit fart.
Yeah.
All right.
It was pretty tough.
But he even said Jay Cutler sucked. He was a shitty teammate, and that he was a dick, but he was a damn good quarterback.
Right.
That's from the mouth of the Sahara Desert in Kellen Davis.
But I just think that. I think that signing Andy Dalton, I think that was...
You laugh. You fuckers laugh.
No, we talked about this after the show that night. Trust me.
That fucking guy was...
You and I went on for a long time about that interview.
How was it playing in Seattle? Well, it rains sometimes.
All right. But I think that they brought...
How was it playing with Russell Wilson? It's nice.
Yeah. How was winning a Super Bowl? Well,
we got to play at home. We got to be at home.
What a ridiculous.
Yeah. How was it playing in the Super Bowl?
It was cool.
Yeah, bro. What? I don't even want to get into that. We'll talk about that after the show because that guy.
We should talk about it now. Let's rake
we have
his ass
one more
out.
topic.
Back to Mitchell Trubisky. The NFL told you he's a bust. No team offered him a starting spot. He couldn't even get an offer from Denver. And they've been trying to get.
Well, that's because Vic Fangio saw him up front. He knew every weakness.
That's what I mean.
The thing that bothered me the most about the Kellen Davis interview.
This guy, Kellen Davis, still.
He didn't laugh about my jerk off joke.
Not only did he not laugh.
The Sport Court podcast is not a place for jerk off jokes. Okay. Hold on. We're gonna move off of the Bears because I don't want to get pissed off anymore. And I left this topic for last because I thought it was a cool topic. They were talking about it on ESPN 1000.
If it's NBA, I'm out.
We already talked that before.
We already got that.
Oh, thank God.
But it's lifers for your favorite sports team, right? They talked about it on ESPN 1000. I thought it would be a cool topic to bring up with you guys. Talk about guys that you think should be lifers for a team. The Anthony Rizzo situation is what sparked this topic. You look at guys like Brian Urlacher, right? Came to the Bears, played his whole career. Could have probably played a couple more years somewhere else, but decided that was it. He was going to hang it up, right? What are your guys' thoughts on lifers for a team? Let's do you first, Mike. Because I know you posted something about the Anthony Rizzo thing on Twitter earlier today.
Right. Listen, man, I know that there's a bunch of talk going around here in Chicago about Anthony Rizzo and how him being a lifer and all that other good stuff. And believe me, I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and shit on Anthony Rizzo. I love Anthony Rizzo. He's one of my favorite Cubs, period. Ever. Like, he's one of my favorite Cubs ever.
Right.
Okay? And I understand that it's a business. Okay, I really do. I understand it's a business, and I understand that the Cubs have to do what they have to do. Would I like to see Anthony Rizzo retire in a Cub uniform? Yeah, dude, for sure, 100%. But what they're offering him is an absolute joke. $60 million over 5 years. I mean, come on, that's what, $11 million a year? Less than that. It's $10.5 million a year. All right, this guy has been with you when you lost 100 games. All right, he's been with you when you started to build this thing, when you started to build this big.
Right.
He's been with you when you actually got to the promised ground. He's been with you when you won a World Series. All right, he's been Clemente Award winner, Gold Glove winner. He's been Silver Slugger Award winner. He's been top 5 in MVP voting. And you're going to sit there and offer this guy a bullshit contract like that?
Yep.
Get out of here. All right? As much as I love Anthony Rizzo, I understand me being this is only because me being a small business owner, Angelo. This is your show. This is your time. I'll shut up as soon as I'm done with this. All right. I understand what it's like being a business owner. Granted, I'm a small business owner. Okay.
Right.
But somebody like that who gives everything to you and to your product, he's worth it. All right. I understand that it's a business. I understand that, there's, what have you done for me lately type contract talks and stuff like that. Anthony Rizzo deserves every red cent that the Cubs can offer him. All right. And I wholeheartedly mean that.
And I'll tell you this, Mike, I agree with you to an extent. Like, obviously, you can't break the bank on Anthony Rizzo, right? You just can't. But they already showed you that they did Lester dirty, right? They let him go. Then they bring in Arrieta because they found money somehow. Then with this whole Rizzo thing, like you're talking about a guy who is basically the heart and soul of this team, right? He's been a guy who, like Mike said, through it all, has put up with the bullshit. He was there to help the other guys come up, and he was part of that 2016 magical team, And I think in some cases you have to make that, exception for certain guys.
Right. He's a leader.
I mean?
He's a leader.
Like Anthony Rizzo deserves to retire a Chicago Cub.
Yes.
What do you think, Turtle?
So, Mike, what did you say the contract was? 60 over 5?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 60 over 5 or something like that, right?
Okay, so here's my thing. First off, you got guys like Anthony Rizzo, Patrick Kane, Walter Payton, I'm trying to think of other guys, Michael Jordan, guys that should have been lifers or were lifers or should be now going forward. I get it. I get the lifer part of it. I'm kind of torn because part of me gets it as the fan in me gets it.
Mm-hmm.
You see a guy, you fall in love with a guy like Anthony Rizzo. He does everything right. He checks every box of what you would want as a player who plays for you. Anthony Rizzo's making $11 million this year. 60 over 5 years, you're going to pay him. That's $12 million. He's not getting any younger.
Right.
He just hit 220 last year. I get it was a shortened year.
It's a 60-game season, bro.
It's a 60-game season, but he still hit 220. He still has stretches of years where he hits 95 or 110.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. He's not going to be an MVP. He's not
Rizzo?
Rizzo's not getting any better.
Right. I agree with you on that.
At this point, he's going to play great defense,
right,
and he's going to hit around 270.
Right.
That's who he's going to be the rest of his career.
Mm-hmm.
So why do I have to pay him $5 to $6 million more than I'm paying him now?
Right.
You want him and you owe him all this, but you know what? If you offer him 13 and nobody else, you started with 12. You don't ever offer what you think you're going to pay somebody right out of the gate.
Right.
Ted Hoyer came out 2 hours ago and said he's very confident they get a deal done.
Right.
They're probably willing to go to 15. That's
right.
$3 million difference a year. They're probably willing to go to 15. So if they offer Anthony Rizzo $15 million a year, that's $4 million more than he's making now.
Right.
He's going to be older. I have no
agree
problem with them offering something low now. What they did to John Lester, that's completely different.
Right.
It goes to what the Hawks did with Corey Crawford. I'd rather these teams just have the balls to tell somebody we're going in a different direction.
Yep.
We're going to go with a different goalie. We're going to bring in a different pitcher. We're going to do different things rather than these teams the Bears did with Urlacher. Would I have re-signed those guys? Probably not. I probably wouldn't have re-signed Urlacher or Crawford or, Lester. I have no problem. Nothing in me is upset that Lester's not here. So would I have re-signed him? No. But I would have told them straight up, we're just going to go a different direction. Mm-hmm. It makes these franchises look worse when they make these bullshit offers to guys that they know they're not going to take. Anthony Rizzo, the negotiations just started. He put the deadline in, well, I'm not going to talk during the season. Well, then that's fine. We'll talk after the season then. Right. But I'm not going to be pressured into offering you right out of the gate what I'm willing to pay you. I'm not going to go all the way there right now, a week before the season, because you don't want to discuss during the season. That's cool. We'll talk in the offseason. I'm probably willing to go to 15. If you're not cool for 15, I'm not going to pay you $20 million a year. Right. I'm just not going to do it.
He's not worth $20 million a year. Like you said, he's only
he's not a $20 million a year guy.
But if that's what he's asking for, you cannot give that to him.
Right. He's making 11 this year.
Right.
If you pay him 15 next year, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Right. Nope. You're making more, right? And you sign him, 5 more years? If he plays 5 more years, boom. There you go. Then you're retired. I do think we as fans – sorry, Andrew, go ahead. You go first, and then I'll go into that as we as fans. So go ahead. Give your take on it.
Just as with what you guys were saying, he's not necessarily worth $20 million a year, but I have no problem paying a guy like Rizzo $15 million a year to stick around. He's a leader in that locker room. As Mike touched on, he's been there through the ups and the downs. I think that's important, and he does a lot for your team chemistry. So I would definitely make it happen. I would definitely get the deal done. Now, he's saying he doesn't want to talk during the season. Maybe that's to just push back. If they come out and say, hey, we're going to give you this, we're going to offer you $14 million a year to stick around, I think he'd sign for it in a heartbeat. But we'll have to wait and see.
So here's my thought, right? Like Turtle was talking. Do you think he's going to go out to another team and get $20 million?
No.
No way, right?
No.
You know what? That's not out of the question, Angelo.
Right.
That's not out of question. Somebody in the mix, somebody like Milwaukee who's in the mix, somebody like, for example, the New York Yankees who need a first baseman. They'll pay him, dude. They will definitely pay him.
The Yankees could pay everybody. The Yankees could pay everybody.
I'd rather have Luke Voigt right now who the Yankees have at first base than Anthony Rizzo.
But here's the thing. The Cubs have been crying poor, right?
Fucking team.
The Cubs have been crying poor. The Cubs have been crying poor, right? All off season, right? Oh, we're so poor, we're so poor. So if that's the case, there's no way they're touching that $20 million. No.
Okay, so somebody will give him 18?
18? I wouldn't.
So if you're Anthony Rizzo and you could go sign with
I'd give him 15
or some
15.
team
I'm good on that.
crap team, and you could sign for 18, or the Cubs, who you supposedly love and want to retire as, offers you 15, you're going to chase the $3 million and go to some piece of shit organization that you don't know for
Look
$3
exactly-
extra million?
Okay, so since when is the New York Yankees a piece of shit
I said the
organization?
Milwaukee Brewers.
He said the Brewers. Yeah, if I was Rizzo, there's no way you're going from Chicago to Milwaukee
yeah,
for
he
$3
would-
million.
he would go to Milwaukee.
Rangers or anybody that's going to offer him 18. The Yankees aren't going to offer him 18 million.
So here's my thought, right? Before I went to Tarbill, I was going to say this. We as fans, I think, hold on to these players a little bit too much.
You're right. You're right.
Like,
Oh, absolutely.
Like right now
You
with
brought
the
that up
Blackhawks,
before.
right? Yeah, like right now with the Blackhawks, right? Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane, right? I could see the Hawks doing something where they make these guys end their career with the Hawks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right move? I don't think so. I think, especially right now, like I love Patrick Kane, don't get me wrong. One of my favorite Blackhawks of all time. I think you should look to move him, if not this year, see where you go this year, but possibly move him next year. You got to use it's a business, man. You got to use your pieces that are at their peak to get other assets. That's what players are.
You only
whether
have
they
so
like
many
it or
bullets.
not. Right, whether the players like it or not, they're the asset to the product, right? To the owners, that's what they are. Their cars, their TVs, it's rollerblades, whatever they're selling, that's what the player is. It's because of the player that you build your team. You need to get these guys at their top when your team is in a rebuild situation like the Hawks are, and utilize that guy to bring in pieces that can, one, lower your cap or your payroll, right? Two, give you younger guys that are going to be able to fill in, maybe not at the level of a Patrick Kane, but that can hopefully develop into that type of a level. You know what I mean? And that's just
Those
that's
are
just
some
my
hard
thought.
shoes to fill, though.
Well, right. I mean, obviously Patrick Kane is otherworldly. You know, top 10 hockey player in the world right now. You know, so
Only the greatest American-born player ever.
if you ask him that,
Absolutely.
Absolutely, but right now, as we sit, if you could have Patrick Kane for, let's say, 5 more years,
Okay.
and you don't win a Stanley Cup, or you can trade Patrick Kane now and get the pieces that are going to put you in a position to win a Stanley Cup
Right.
in the next 5 years.
Well, no shit. That's a no-brainer.
right?
But there's a lot
But
of
that's
fans
how-
that say he's untouchable.
Right. That's the point. Is there's fans that it's just like that adage, like, oh well, you can't criticize your team because then you're not a fan. Nah, I think
Right.
that's a bullshit take. I think it's the fans that criticize their team that show that they are the more true fan because they can engage in that talk. They can see, hey, it's like a relationship, right? Not every day in a relationship's going to be fucking roses, right?
It fucking sucks.
Most days are trash.
I wish I was single.
Yeah, right. But either way, like there's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs, but you have to, make the best of it. Like the Bears right now, they are terrible. That's my favorite team. Yeah, I'm gonna shit on them right now, but you know what's gonna happen when they become great? I'm gonna be like, yo, I was shitting on them, but hey, they're great. So I don't know. I think the whole lifer talk.
It's going to be about 10 years, bud.
Yeah,
Well,
hey,
it's like the
fucking
White
it's not long.
The White Sox were so bad for so long, and now all of a sudden, look at them. Now it's the hot thing to do is be a White Sox
Right,
fan.
right.
Half of these guys weren't here when they were bad,
Nope.
and there were pieces that people wanted to keep that they didn't. I just don't think there's anybody you can just outright say they're untouchable, and you should do whatever it takes to make them a lifelong player of your team. I mean, guys end their careers with different teams.
I mean,
of
shit.
Famers
Michael
end their
Jordan
career.
didn't even end his career with the Bulls.
Joe Montana, Brett Favre,
Right.
guys who are Hall of Famers don't end their careers with the
Shit,
team
Brett
they played
Favre
with.
went to 2 teams after
Right,
the Packers.
because they're not ready to retire, and sometimes the team is ready for them to retire.
Right.
Yeah, but
100%.
there's
So-
also guys that did end their career with teams. Like
Absolutely,
Mickey
there
Mantle.
is.
Right.
Like Mickey Mantle, Steve
Yeah, but
Eisner.
I mean, that's
And
a
there was
whole
no free
different time,
agency.
though. That's a completely different time. I don't think you can go back to Mickey Mantle and be like, look at
Steve
how
Eiserman, Joe Sakic.
Yeah, there's going to be guys, obviously. I
Right.
think, personally, I just think that this lifer conversation, as much as it's awesome, hey, you're a lifer. Like, look at when Charles Tillman left, right? It sucked. Was it cool seeing him play for the Panthers? No. But
Right.
guess what? He wasn't ready to hang it up. The Bears were. Matt Forte was the best running back I had watched in my life that I remember watching, right? Well, I'm only 30, man. How fucking old do you think I am? He's the best that I have watched in my life and remember watching. Like, there's others, but that works. Did he just leave?
he removed himself from that conversation.
All right. Well, what a fucking clown. But I just think like the lifer conversation, people who hang on to this thought of, Peyton Manning, he's going to be a Indianapolis Colt. That guy went to another team, won a Super Bowl. He wasn't ready to retire, but the Colts are ready to move on from him.
Right.
Why? Because they were able to get a younger asset at the time they thought was going to be their long term. That's probably not what they expected to happen. But either way, I think it's a good topic. I think we went around the board with it. Some hot conversation. That's what I like on the sports.
I still want to talk about it. This is pissing me
Well, you
off.
know-
Well, hey, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Hold on. This is my show tonight, boys. And my show, I only wanted to run an hour, is what I told Tarbill and Andrew before the
Well,
show.
you're running late. I don't know what the
I
fuck
know.
to tell you.
We brought you on as a special guest, the first guest.
You didn't have to bring me
But
on.
I wanted to.
Let me about lifers.
All right, go ahead. Real
What
quick.
about sometimes the player doesn't want to be a lifer just because the fans want these guys to be there. Look at Barry Sanders. He chose to retire than play for Detroit.
Yep.
Just because, we want them to be here forever. Sometimes they're ready to move on.
Right, like look at Russell Wilson, right?
Right.
Right there, boom. Do you think Seattle fans want Russ to leave? Absolutely not. But if he's ready to go, how are you? You're not going to stop him.
Right.
But anyways,
Right.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know we went a little long tonight. Mike and I usually go an hour and a half.
We should continue talking.
Well, we'll continue after the show. But I just want
Let's
to
just
thank.
bring it live. We'll end the show right now. And we'll just keep on going.
Nope.
No, they'll take us off the air.
That's
We'll
right.
bring-
So
we'll bring
I want
everybody-
to give a shout out to Nick and Ivy and Jonathan Durin, those guys for being the 1252 sponsors. Yeah, I see it. I see it on your chest too. We got some potential.
That wasn't even planned.
We got some potential big news coming for next week's show, the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show. I'm not breaking any news. We'll if we decide to break the news, we'll break it on Turtle's Take on Friday, 7
We
p.m.
will.
Make sure you guys tune into that. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Andrew, Vince, Mike, thanks for joining me. It was great. It was awesome.
Thanks
I
for having
appreciate it.
us.
No problem.
I'm
Thanks for
honored
having
to be. I am honored to be a guest on the Sport
The first
Podcast.
guest.
That the first guest.
The
You were
first guest.
First guest.
I'm the first guest.
Well, yeah,
You're the
because these guys
first.
were already on. You were the first person I brought in. So
Well, you could have done a lot better than me, Angelo. You know that. You got numbers.
Yeah,
What are you
well,
doing here, bro?
Without you, there would be no me. That's how I look.
I'm
at
a nobody. I'm
We're
a poop
team.
dick.
it.
I am
That's
what you
probably
call a
true.
poop dick.
But we're gonna wrap it up on that note. Thanks again, guys. More from Sport Court coming soon. Make sure you guys tune in Friday night to see Turtles Take 7 p.m. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, and Kellen Davis, I love you, bud.
There
Thanks
you
for
go.
joining me.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys.
Thank you.